Sit on Santa's lap. I'm like, no. Okay. I'm kind of heavy though, Santa. Santa likes pain. I'm like, okay, Santa, you gotta stop.
Welcome now to the Crank Revolution Podcast, your source for cycling shenanigans. Listen now to our hosts, the purveyors of pedals, as we teach you more about cycling every single episode. So sit right back, pop a cold one, and enjoy our show.
And welcome back. It's the holiday season.
It's cold outside.
Those are two different songs, but we're happy to be back with you here at the Crank Revolution Podcast. But we're now a bi-weekly podcast, meaning we're coming out every 2 weeks, bringing you cycling shenanigans and all of our thoughts from the fields of bicycles. But this week, we've got something very special.
Okay.
If you listened to last week's episode, we learned a lot about Merc in his breaking away fantasies of high school, chasing random semi-trailers. Today, we're going to focus in on one of our resident mechanics here, the one, the only TC.
Oh,
Or-
hey there.
Or T to the C.
The tiniest
Hoodlums?
Chris.
The holiday season action blockbuster from Terminator? No? TC, let's go around the table real quick. How did we all meet TC? So, Merc, what's your story?
I got to know him through you.
Through me.
Through Jeremy. I had no
Gary.
clue that TC even existed until you.
Well, that's not exactly true. You
Can we,
worked at
hold on. Would you call that the BCTC?
your life.
Oh, man.
is
There's been a lot of
The
There's
BTC?
been a lot of those acronyms in my life, man. PCTC.
Actually,
Oh,
no.
yeah.
Yes, you are correct.
That's
Going to where you were, we did have a little run-in working at the old bike shop. The first time I got to meet him, he was gluing on tubular tires. I'm like, oh, tubular tires, having fun? Yeah. 3-day project. All right. Yeah, you're good.
So, Greg, how did you meet TC?
You know, it's been like 6 years. I can't really remember how I met TC. I think it was actually because I was wearing a Museum of Science and Industry cycling jersey.
Yep.
And I stopped in the old bike shop. And you guys were like nerding out over the brand of what my jersey is. And I was like, yeah, no, it's
MSI.
Museum of Science and Industry. And you're like, no, it's Castelli or Westinghouse. It's like something. And I was like,
Westinghouse, yeah.
Westinghouse
televisions.
Electric.
and that tells you how much of a cyclist I was.
Merc,
at
have
that
you used
time.
the Westinghouse cycling jersey back in the day?
Back in the day, yes, I did.
That
They had
jersey,
these new talkies.
that jersey was in black and white. Then again, all of our jerseys were black and white. I was so proud of wearing this jersey because it says Museum of Science and Industry. And I walk into the performance store, and TC, another person, like 2 other people are like, oh yeah, we love that jersey. And then you start talking brands and the cut and everything. And my entire face felt like it melted off like Raiders of the Lost Ark. I was so confused. A few short weeks later, suddenly I was riding with you guys all the time.
That was the thing is for TC, as we've told in previous stories, he got me into cycling. I went in a 285-pound kind of needed a lot of work, and we made a great friendship, and then we went on bike tours together, and a lot of positive things happened, and now we've got a bike shop and a podcast. It's kind of crazy, but now we want to explore the deep childhood traumas of TC.
Let's not do that. you know?
lay back on the
Isn't
couch.
that
We
What does
we
it
can
do?
not talk about trauma, maybe. We can talk about, like, bikes.
So let's explore this together real quick. So TC, let's talk a little bit about your upbringing now. Last we were in like 1987 with Merc, regaling White Snake, or what was it, hair metal?
Hair
and now
metal.
we're going to a different thing. I'm assuming that TC's favorite
Def
band
Leppard,
was
totally
Savage
different.
Garden. And no, what was it like growing up? You're definitely a
Well, yeah,
millennial.
so
You're
I-
a different age.
I didn't live a minute of my life in the 80s, 90s and on there.
missed it.
We can go to, like, it wasn't Soundgarden. It was Smashing
Air Coda.
Pumpkins. And that was like the
Ooh,
first, like,
well
really,
done.
like, oh man, Melancholia and the Infinite Sadness.
Oh,
that
yeah.
was like the first real album.
So I have to place this though. When did you graduate high school? What year?
Class of 08.
2008.
2008.
I don't even know if that's past Smash Mouth, past Nickelback, past Creed.
Smash Mouth was like 2001.
Oh,
Nickelback
wow.
is
It's
no
like
longer cool at that
04.
time. The internet was all against Nickelback.
They
at
were
that
always
point.
jokes. Well, at least
Nickelback
in
was
my-
brought
in
by
my circle.
Satan.
Kesha was a thing.
Yeah, well, I was in college even. Kesha was.
Well,
So-
yeah, but Kesha was just starting out. Like Lady Gaga was starting out, but Kesha, oh,
I mean-
TikTok.
So 2008 though, I was graduating 98. And Merc, you were what year?
89.
All right, so TC, what was it like growing up during that time?
Wait, man, I just told you, it's like that album. It's exactly what it is. No, so me growing up, it was family in the neighborhoods, just kind of hanging out, riding bikes all the time. But then it's not really like formative for me. Really, what as I see like my trajectory in the bike world really starts actually when I was like 14. Buddies and I all had bikes, and we were just like ripping around the neighborhood, causing trouble. But that was our like mode of transportation. That was how we explored the world. That was how we kind of got out and got into mischief, with my hoodlum friends.
Well, it's
And,
funny you mention that because that's something Burke and I talked about is in the 80s, and he was even saying then we all went out and we explored life as kids on bikes. It was same for you still.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I got a car and started running.
Running?
Wait, so you got a car and you started running?
I was running competitively, so
Did you not
I
have,
would
like-
run to places. I was that guy.
Did you not have like money for gas?
No, I did. I just would run to places because I was that guy.
Isn't that more expensive with the food?
Well, I never like paid for food. I lived in my mom's house,
Oh, okay. That's fair.
so it didn't matter. There was food, and I ate all of it.
And yeah, you were that guy.
I was,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It was really when I was 18. Graduated high school. My brother got a job in a bike shop, Performance Bicycle Schaumburg. This was in 2008. And then I needed a second job because I wasn't lifeguarding enough. So I got a job at the bike shop. My brother got a job. He was a runner as well. As I went into my first interview in a bike shop, I didn't know that they had like pedals and shoes that locked together.
So hold on. How did you arrive the interview?
I
We
drove.
ran there.
You
No,
drove.
I
You
drove
drove.
there, yeah. Yeah, I
Okay.
wouldn't run to an interview. I knew better than that. Yeah, I didn't, this was 2008. I didn't know that pedals and shoes would clip together. Like, that was a thing. And I
You
got
knew
a job.
toe straps
and
were a
I
thing.
got a job in a bike shop.
Yeah.
I literally knew bikes have two wheels and handlebars. That's all. That's it.
Well,
And then-
how complicated could it be?
And you had to put air in it like every other month because that's what I had done. Yeah, that's what I knew. And so, flash forward 11 years, a little bit different world.
It's a hugely different world.
But so this week's been really good because actually, one of the guys who got me into cycling at that shop, Bob, actually came into my bike shop this week and got to sit and talk with him for 4 hours. And I don't exist in this bike shop world without him. He was very integral and really kind of showed his passion, which really inspired me to get way into this.
So Bob was a big influence on you. So when you started working the bike shop, though, what was it you really kind of gained? What was your first experience, and how did you feel about it getting in and selling bikes?
So, I mean, early on, it was really just there is so much to a bike. It's got all of these parts. They have all these different levels. They can cost $2,000. I went through all of this very 2-month span. I was like, oh my God, these things are awesome. They look gorgeous and they're way expensive. And then they kind of started to understand the depth of what cycling can provide someone.
Now, how much of your paycheck back then was going straight back into cycling versus
None.
now?
I mean, back then it was none. It was 18 and
It was
He was
food,
doing
basically.
those
he was
things.
still running to places.
He was
so
going to
Yeah.
Applebee's on
actually
Fridays
no,
for
because I was
dates.
out of high school, I had stopped running to places.
no, now you ride to places.
But so it was once where college and gonna go get rowdy and be a kid.
So you were a mechanic before you started any kind of actual riding?
No, the first summer at Performance, just very green salesperson. On the exit of the shop, bought a bike, which was the lowest price bike they offered. Part of the reason was because I was going to school in Chicago and expected it to get stolen.
That's fair.
I
Pretty
had
legit.
that expectation going to school, so that was the bike, and then I just started riding that all the time.
What did you use for your lock on that bike? Just toothpaste? or,
Actually, I would take it
floss?
apart and bring it back to my dorm room because I was doing that back then.
You were that guy.
I was
too.
that guy.
Yeah.
I've been that guy with bikes in my bedroom for a very long time. Oh God. I'd be out on the Chicago Lakefront Trail, just knocking out miles, which I thought I was going long, but it was 10 and 15 mile rides, which it's not that that's not a long ride. Looking back on it now and how my perception has changed to where if it's
yeah.
less than 100 miles, it's not a long ride.
It's,
80's a good day, but it's not a long ride. Just the perception of what bikes are has changed so much in a decade of really focusing on this stuff.
Well, let
Okay.
me interrupt you real quick. Back when you were first riding around with your hoodlum friends, what were you riding around on?
Oh yeah, I was on a blue Haro F3 BMX bike with 3-piece cranks. Why do I know it? Because I got way into this stuff and then still had the bike. And I sold it to my brother for $20 or something as I was leaving an apartment, and then he got it stolen.
You
I've
stole
had
your
a
brother's
few
bike,
bikes
yeah.
stolen from my brother because it's ones where he's never had one of his bikes stolen. But if it's a bike that I gave to him, he's like, that's my brother's bike, whatever, and just he gets it stolen.
So some people look back to their high school days and they go, oh, I can't wait to own this car again when I'm 40, 50 years old. Are you planning on rebuilding this BMX
No.
bike? No.
No, because it wasn't great. It
So
was
you're not
heavy.
going to be that guy.
I really want to build a BMX bike, but I'll build a much better BMX bike.
So when did you actually get into cycling?
Well, so I'll say at that point I was into cycling. You know, I was spending a lot of time reading online. I was between college. I wasn't going to bike shops all the time, but I was just kind of really investigating the sport. Back from college for winter, got a few hours in the bike shop hanging out. Then that summer I came back and was full time at that shop and really started getting more and more involved. My second year of college, Rapid Transit was moving into the building, and I had no idea who they were. But that is like the most formative shop for me in my bicycle career. And so that's 2010, Rapid Transit South at UIC.
So what was it like the first time you walked into Rapid Transit?
I mean, even though I can remember that exact moment, that moment wasn't what really changed everything for me.
No?
No, walking in there, it was, your dirty old bike shop. It was very nice to see a repair stand, number one. But really the most formative part where I was like, this shop, is when I started talking with the guys there. Everyone knew so much. And this is like, I knew a lot of people from performance who knew a lot. Everyone in this shop knew so much about bikes. They rode all the time. They were so involved in the sport. We had guys who were racing professional BMX. Guy singular, Trent. He was only hired because we messed up, hired the wrong T McD name. That's
you had two resumes in front of you, and you're like, this one.
So
It was the 90s. There was T McD and T McC.
They originally meant to hire a guy who I know solely as McD, and they hired Trent McD instead. Yeah, it was one of those places where, I mean, everyone was really involved in the sport, really working at it at a high level, really kind of had this huge passion. Looking back at that first staff, my first year in 2010 at Rapid Transit, from that staff, you have 5 or 6 independent bike owners. I was talking with my buddy Jared today, who owns a shop in Chattanooga. I've been reaching out to Bailey lately because he owns a shop in Santa Fe, Sincere. Talked with Jesse today, who owns Comrade Cycles, with a couple other guys.
So when are you going to open your first... Oh, wait,
you did.
yeah,
I did that too. Yeah, so it's this. Everyone in that from that shop is still in the industry or at a much higher level in the industry. And so it's just, this really great core. And they had won Bike Shop of the Year from the Reader Poll the year before. And so it's just really, really just the greatest bike shop, all-star bike shop staff in my mind.
So is it so much like you were going to class during the day and then at night you were this mystical dark night of bicycle mechanicry?
Let's say my time in college, the going to class during the day, that was a maybe. I got through college. It was not a great, really time focus. I was just spending all my time in the bike shop.
Well, you know what they call the doctor that graduates with D's, right? Doctor.
A bike mechanic? Oh, yeah. Not a bike mechanic? Oh, okay. Yeah, no, was spending a lot of time at the shop, really kind of learning on top of my studies. Just started starting to find my niche in the bike shop industry. And so there, yes, it was a Chicago bike shop, so I was the only one without lots of tattoos, I think. Pretty much everybody's less clean cut than I am.
And to this day, you're still tattoo-less.
I am still tattoo-free.
How can you own a bike shop, be tattoo-less after all of these other shenanigans?
I haven't found a tattoo artist that I like. I want.
For the record, we've had 3 or 4 customers who want to get the Crank Revolution tattoo, and you're still on the fence.
Well, no, I'm on the fence because I need a tattoo artist to do this for me. You know, it's
a
art.
Black and white logo.
No. Coffee, right?
Yeah.
Like, you think a tattoo would be any different for how neurotic I can be about this?
So, TC, you've ridden BMX, you've ridden cross, you've ridden road, you've done so many different things now. As a bike shop owner, though, looking back across all those bikes, what is the one that meant the most to you?
And so it's one that we share, actually, which is a really cute answer that I get to give. 2008 Fuji Cross Comp, black size 56.
Yes, we do.
Wait,
Yeah.
is that the one that he got stolen?
No,
No,
my
no.
brother
His
who got it stolen.
Brothers get bikes stolen.
Brothers
That's
get
what
bike
we're learning
stolen.
from this podcast.
I do fondly remember that bike. What was that? What were the memories for you?
And so for me, that was actually one of the first bikes that I had just a frame. As some of us get to the point where I have frames, there's always an extra frame around, and I haven't built it yet for X, Y, and Z reason. That was the first bike that I had as a frame that I carried with me for like a year, and then I was like, oh, I can rebuild this. And then just like found parts and put them together. It actually was a lot of the same parts because I bought a new bike. Or no, I had broken a frame, got a new frame, was changing everything to go to the 9s. You know, my first SRAM red bike. So I had all the old parts that I put back onto it, reassembled it. I was like, oh man, that bike's back to life. It's cool.
Well, for those of you who remember back to the early episodes, that's the one that when I was having the worst day of my life in Bussy Woods, trying to commute back, being way
worst day of your
overweight,
life.
I broke my cassette. Then my rear derailleur wouldn't shift right, and it was just everything was going wrong. I called my brother-in-law. He actually drove me over to the shop, and I come in. I'm like, TC, I broke it again. And he just worked on it like in the last week. And then all of a sudden,
we
you're
replaced
like,
the freewheel because it had broken a tooth.
Yeah. And you're like, well, if that's not working, why don't you ride this for a while? So I remember that bike so greatly. It meant so much to me.
Yeah, but I only got to do that.
Yeah.
Got to give you that bike because you had come in 2 days prior and like, hey man, I'm sorry I didn't come buy a bike from you last weekend, which is a sentence that I still struggle to say because it logically does not. Why are you apologizing to me for not buying? I don't understand this idea. Like went home, it's like that's wrong, and then that bike just like hit me in the head, like the apple from the tree just hit me in the head, and I was like,
Actually, literally?
yeah.
I would like
we're
to
gonna say yeah. It's a Pixar movie, and it was alive, and it hit me in the head.
I'd like to imagine it was an Isaac Newton moment where TC is just sitting under the bike racks and suddenly the bike just falls loose, hits him in the head. He goes, "Oh, Jeremy, just take this."
There's that one. Yeah, that's okay. Well, that's like a 58 is probably better, but
well, that was the thing that's so amazing to me is that's very much akin to why laugh now where we are now in 2019 with a bike shop and a podcast and everything else is that same attitude of I see somebody who needs something, I can help lead them to the right place. Here's my way of doing it is the experience of riding a bike.
Yeah, but you were stoked on bikes, and I had a bike, so like,
yeah,
bikes are dope. More people should ride them.
But the irony is that when you think back to when we're all children, it's just like, can I ride the bike? And you would just be like, sure. You just give it away.
Yeah.
Now we're adults and we're doing the exact same thing.
Everybody had that friend that would say no.
Oh yeah, all my friends would be like, no, this is
Everybody
my
had that
ball.
guy.
I'm taking it and going home.
The key word is everybody had.
Yeah, had
that
that
friend.
friend. Oh, that's good. Good turn of phrase.
You've told me a lot of stories in the bike shop. You've gone on a tour from Mexico border to Vancouver. You've gone one time you said to Indiana or Purdue University. There's all these little moments you've had riding your bike.
Well, I rode to Kalamazoo, Michigan from Chicago. I rode to U of I from Chicago. I rode to Madison from Chicago, and this is when I was like 20.
So what has been, though, of all of those things you've done on bike, what's been your favorite bike memory?
Bike tour is the one where, 6 weeks riding from Mexico to Canada in 2015 on the west coast of California with a side trip from LA to Vegas and then back to California and then up to Vancouver. That was just such a life-affirming, life-changing time.
Yeah.
It's funny, like, for me thinking back, that was only 4 years ago. It was a different person ago for me. I was a different human. And I think that's really where kind of the name TC, the who I am as I am in the bike world, that's really where that kind of came together.
You come from an experience that a lot of us haven't had. Now, you and I have toured together. We've done these things, but the idea of spending 6 weeks on a bike from Mexico to Vancouver is huge. Yeah. So if that's one of your favorite memories, take us through some of that. What were some of the crazy moments? What was it like being 4 weeks talking to yourself at one point?
I mean, we can do 4, 6, 12 hours of a podcast on this because I can,
Were you speaking about yourself in the third person when you'd go to the convenience store?
No, I never got that bad.
M&Ms.
No, I never got that bad. And I was going as TC on that trip. That was
TC would like some
I know,
M&Ms.
but it's once where just kind of as the trip went, we'll talk like we can go. Yeah, day one, riding to the Mexico border. It's touching the border fence, and you're like, I don't really want to go there. I don't want to go to Tijuana. I'm good. Gonna turn around now. Go get as far away as I can, I guess.
All the way to Vancouver.
That was day one. Also, that was day one. Was the day before my father's wedding. And so, my dad's wedding, it was a good time, to launch this. And then day two, where...
Wait, so you missed your father's wedding? It was the day before?
No. So we were staying in San Diego, and that's how this all actually started. I had a free flight to San Diego for my father's wedding 6 months in advance. And I was like... my family, one of the things that they do really well to treat us as adults, where it's like, okay, cool, we need you all to be here for this family trip. I don't care when you go home. You find your way home. Be an adult... And it's almost like,
but you will be here at this time.
But then it's planes, trains, and automobiles for my whole family to go to another city, go to another country, and then find their way back home. It's fun because we just explore. My exploring to get my way back home was to ride my bike from San Diego to Vancouver and then take a train from Vancouver back to Chicago.
Oh, I was about to say, that Vancouver's nowhere near Chicago.
Yeah, no,
right?
It's totally wrong direction.
Yeah, I didn't know if TC back then knew that.
So let me ask you this, though, because you and I got together for 11 days of that 6 week you were together. We had a bunch of crazy moments from staying at a professor's house in Eugene, who was part of the... Yeah, he just gave us the house for
he was
2 days.
An associate professor. He wasn't fully...
Either
he was
way,
really cool dude.
Awesome dude if you're listening.
He's probably a full
Great to hear
professor
from you.
at this time, let's face it.
Just saying, though, that was one memory for me. Another one was when we thought we were going to be killed in a small town when a biker gang rolled up on us. And we had the greatest time for hours.
We didn't think we were going to get killed then because the biker gang was instantly chill because you were wearing your kilt.
Yeah, I know. It was weird, though. They all
They're
have
just like,
1%ers.
what the hell? Okay,
Yeah.
what's this guy gonna do? He's wearing a kilt and a bicycle. This makes no sense. Hey, friends, and then like hugs, and like we could see all of their guns, and they're just like,
Yeah, they're going to the side saddles, and there's guns. We're like, yeah, we're
one of
safe,
their,
I think.
One of their old ladies was into me. Yeah.
Now, this is going to
No,
be a
it was
part
all
two.
good and well.
Oh,
like
okay.
joking. What's she gonna do? Take the guy on his bicycle? Like, but it was just ones where like, yeah, that happened.
Throw some
props-
pegs on this thing. I'm riding this all the way to Vancouver.
If anyone's listening, though, from that experience, I have to tell you, that was a great one for us because you rode us out of town. I think it was Memorial Day weekend, or what weekend
I
was
don't-
that? Either way, you rode us out of town. You said it's not the safest. You gave us a hotel recommendation.
Oh yeah, they
we
did.
love you for
yeah, they
it.
told
That
us
was awesome.
exactly. They told us in their words, and I quote, the least sketchy place in Ukiah. That's where we stayed.
When I got there, he had gotten to San Francisco 2 days early. So he took a side trip to Vegas to go
To
see
go
your
see my aunt.
friends.
Yeah, well, my aunt's there.
What was your moment, though, when I wasn't there? What was your favorite moment? What was the greatest moment?
So yeah, it's that favorite moment changes minute by minute. If we're talking desert, I struggle to remember what day of the year it was, but I can pull out a map and tell you exactly where I slept, and then where I slept the next night, and then
Yeah.
where I stopped. Having seen only parts of these things on maps at the time, but I can still pull it because I can draw back from this line, this road to that road, because it just lived that minute. Yeah, there was one night in the desert before going to Mojave Desert. So this was just north of 29 Palms. I was just climbing up to like Sheep's Leg Lake or something, which is a dried up lake. But I found this spot where I strung up my hammock like halfway up the climb across two rocks with a nice enough valley between them to
I think I
lay
saw
in
the
my
photo.
hammock.
Yeah.
Just strung that up. I'm just like, all right, cool. And then like climbed to the top of the rock pile and called my mother because I got a touch of cell service there. Just looking out. I mean, I could look out and see 100 miles in every direction. It was as clean as can be. There was nothing.
So what'd you
And,
talk about with her? Was it, are you home yet? Funny thing, on my
It's-
way home.
You know, it's more just the like, wow, there's nothing here. I can look out for 100 miles and not see a person. And I'm very comfortable living here by
Yeah.
myself on a bicycle. This is weird. I slept out. That was probably one of the best nights I've ever slept in my hammock. And I've got a lot of nights I've slept in my hammock at this point. But that's the one where it's just like, everything was perfect. Don't need the bug net. There's nothing out here. I'm all alone and I'm comfortable. Then the next day, I finished climbing over the grade, descend down about 12 or 13 miles to, so it's Roy's Diner on Route 66. I think it's in California. It might be in Nevada. It's a messy line there. Literally, you can find Roy's. It was featured in the Cult of Cthulhu movie. And so, like, I saw it and I was like, I've been there. Because it's a really weird stop on the Route 66. I go in there. You know what you get really excited for on a bike tour when you're sleeping out in the desert?
Food.
Food, especially diner food. It's greasy and it's enriching and so wholesome. And then there's water. Oh, so much water I was dreaming of. Guess what? Roy's Diner doesn't have running water. They don't serve eggs and bacon. I bought stale chips on the side
Damn
of.
you,
Yeah, I
Roy.
bought stale chips. But you know what? Those were the greatest stale chips I could find.
I was gonna
And
say,
guess
what
what?
is it, like moldy bagels?
Yeah, it
and
was.
like
It-
cream
and
cheese
it was
that
the
comes out of a
greatest-
squeeze container.
It was all a bunch of just random stuff, and I get there, and the guy's like, "How you doing?" I'm like, "I'm terrible," and I was like, kind of like trailed off because I was just 1,000-yard stare. And he's like, "Well, all right, don't tell anyone else, but you can go use the water in the back." And I was like, "Oh man, I can use the water in the back. That's cool." And then I come back and sit down, and I'm just this sweaty pile of mess. This tour bus of a bunch of French folks pulls up, and everyone's asking for water. I was like, "No, there's no water." And I was like, "Oh my god."
Oh,
I'm worth this man's water. This place literally didn't have running water.
So-
even when the world was perfect, there were no water lines there.
So I think what's
The
really
middle of
important to
nowhere.
point out is that you looked so badly,
that he gave
so
you this precious
grizzled,
resource.
that he's like,
Well-
this man needs water because if anyone else comes by, I'm going to tell them no. But this guy, oh good
yeah,
lord,
the
But that's-
Zompocalypse. He shared his
But that's ones where
resources.
like it's not regardless of how I looked, it's the condition that I arrived on a bicycle. And he knows that the closest place that has running water is 50 miles in any
Yeah.
direction. Yeah, guy on the bike, good luck. You
Is that
got to
what-
survive this.
is that why you never even carry a water bottle on a 100-mile ride?
I mean, yeah,
Some
you can say
say
that
you
that's
never
some
use a
some
water
of that
bottle on a
like
100-mile ride.
like yeah, I do know how bad it can get, and it doesn't actually like really affect me that much when I get super dehydrated, so I can just keep going. So yeah, whatever. I know I'm good.
You're okay with just peeing.
But yeah, I mean that
dust
day
from
was
your kidneys.
114 degrees with no shade.
But it was a dry heat.
Yeah, and it was 120 road heat, you know? The air temp was 114.
The blacktop,
road
yeah.
was 140 or whatever it was.
Still cooking eggs out there.
So I got so badly sunburned. I love how, like, all of this is within, like, 6 hours of one of the nicest camping places I've ever had. And then I went to this point where I was just so down. And just, like, the range of emotion where it's just like, I am exhausted. And then as soon as you lay down, it's the greatest lay down you've ever had.
What is the biggest thing you want to do in the future? Now you've got a bike shop. What are you looking to do in 2020?
I've been planning 2020 now, and for Bike Trip 2.0, that's what we're going to call it, Bike Trip 2.0, I'm going to pack up a new car that I'm planning to buy with my dog, Charlie Bronson, my stump jumper, and go tour and go see a bunch of my friends who run bike shops. Jared at Chattanooga at a Cycle East, I think is what he's calling it, because it's east of Cycle East in Austin, because that's where he was at last. So that shop, and then Sincere Cycles in Santa Fe, lots of Bentonville, Arkansas in between, which is a really big mountain bike backup right now. I don't know. It's a whole bunch of stops that I'm planning. After the bike shop season, I'm going to go adventure, go live outside again. But this time, I have a puppy dog and a stump jumper, which is a way more fun bike to ride each day than your same touring bike loaded up with touring gear. Way more fun with a mountain bike.
So you did the Epic Bike Tour. You've worked in bike shops throughout the Chicagoland area. You had the 9-to-5 desk job. You decided cycling was the way you wanted to be. But what was it that finally got you elevated from just being at bike shop level status into that next stage? Like all of your other friends at Rapid Transit.
Well, so I mean, a lot of people at Rapid Transit, starting their own shops, that was a little bit different. But for me, the elevation of my bike life experience was, post bike tour, I had to get out of Chicago, and I was going to go work for a bike brand somewhere else. And that somewhere else to me had an expiration date, which was February. So if I didn't have a job by February, I was just going to drive to Long Beach and just go start life. I had a standing job at a bike shop. If as long as I showed up with a pinball machine was the one stipulation. And I was like, I'm from Chicago. Of course I can find a pinball machine, which is true.
So obviously you went up to Waterloo, Wisconsin, which is the perfect place that any Chicagoan should ever want to work.
Yeah, I interviewed with Trek in late 2015, and I was not hired.
From riding BMX bikes with all your friends, to getting your first job in high school, to running cross country for your high school team, to working with your your best friend, to getting into the University of Illinois Chicago for an economics degree, to moonlighting at other bike shops, and making everybody passionate about cycling. This man never stopped. And in 2016, he made the move. It wasn't to Waterloo.
No.
It was to another big brand.
Not that Waterloo's bad, but Specialized. So I got hired by Specialized in Salt Lake City. Yeah. Oh, man, I found brand love instantly. That is great.
You know how some people act around Apple products? That's how he is when it comes to Specialized.
I am one of the few Specialized employees that left the company and immediately opened a retail location that I want to be a customer of the company now. And I do fully plan at some point in my life to go back to working for Specialized. I have never seen a company that had a healthier and more fun corporate culture, like walking into Rapid Transit and seeing everyone who was so passionate, so excited about bikes and really lived that life. My experience at Specialized was all of those people. It was just them creating and being really passionate once again. It was great.
Yeah, but what I like about UTC is that you create the passion for the Specialized brand on top of it. Because I wasn't a Specialized fan until I really got to talk to you and work with you.
And then ride a few bikes.
Yeah, and ride a few bikes.
And for me, I refused to ride a Specialized. Why? Well, so many other people rode a Specialized. But when TC, the mechanic who got me into cycling, starts talking about this brand, it's like, all right, maybe it's worthwhile checking it out. And then, it threw me on a tarmac and went, yep, this is
But you also do ride a one-of-a-kind Specialized.
That's true.
That is your
Roubaix.
There is nothing. There are many like it, but this one is mine. Yeah,
Exactly.
that one. So I know from a recall that Specialized had on that bike that there were more than 60,000 Roubaix in the Rubies, Diverge, and Cirrus in the U.S.
So you confirm that with your eyeballs.
Yeah.
You never saw my
I saw all the numbers actually. Yeah, I went through their ordering system and did a whole lot of maths. But yeah, no. So there's of that. Greg's is the only one that's acid mint.
And now, with holiday riding upon us, let's cut to TC in From the Mechanic's Mouth.
Hey guys, TC here, and during this holiday season, we are going to talk about tire pressure gauges. With the winter time coming, holidays coming, we're all starting to bring the fat bikes out and have a lot more fun in the snow. with the fat bikes, you can run tire pressures as low as about 2 psi, and the pneumatic tire pressure gauge that's on your pump, it's not cutting it. It's not a very accurate gauge at that low of a pressure. It's great to have a digital tire pressure gauge. And that's a separate piece that you can usually pick up at any bike shop that you can check the tire pressure, and it'll give you a consistent reading that's accurate for low tire pressures. So sometimes your pneumatic pump might say 2, it could say 8, and it's a very different ride, and your chance of getting a pinch flat or ability to kind of really grip and run that trail well changes a lot based on what that tire pressure is. So a digital tire pressure gauge is going to be a much more accurate piece. It really helps to get you a more consistent, fun ride as you go slide around and have fun in the snow. And that's from the mechanic's mouth.
And now the snow is on the ground, so we have to think about ways we can ride all season long. That is fat bikes. Fat bikes are great with their 4 and 5 inch wheels, but at the barrier to entry of $1,500 for a decent one, how'd they get so popular?
One of the biggest kind of exciting drops in the fat bike world was the Mongoose Beast that was offered at Walmart for $149. It's such a terrible bike, but it's so fun.
Well, isn't all fat bikes
Just
fun?
Fun, exactly. It's
fun.
not about speed, but it can be.
Hold on, at $149, literally
Yeah.
the cost of doing any repair
It weighed
is buying a
$47.
new one.
Yeah. But there was like a year, and it was like 2011 when they released this, and so many people just bought them up and then just destroyed them that winter. And then they were destroyed. And then the next year, guess what? They bought a real fat bike.
Yeah. It's an entry into the fat bike
Exactly,
realm.
because like Jeremy was saying, I mean, $1,500 because that's all of us that have fat bikes here. Yeah, they're at least that because that's it's really
And that's the barrier of entry I'm talking about. At my previous bike shop, what we did is we brought in a whole fleet of fat bikes. Yes, they were for sale, but we'd let them demo out every Saturday just so people could get the experience of what it's like to ride a fat bike.
It's true. I led a group ride on one of those. It was a blast. I got one up to 28 miles an hour on
That's
pavement.
amazing.
My best fat bike day was New Year's Day this year, where we took Levo Fats, so that is an E-assist fat bike, and we rode up AF Canyon, American Fork Canyon that is, rode up to 10,000 feet, and then just crashed consistently for the next half hour coming down the mountain. It was great because the week before we had ridden the regular normal pedal fat bikes. Oh man, that course was very difficult. The e-bike made it just stupid fun the entire time.
So wait, Merc, do you have a fat bike?
Of course.
What do you
Framed
have?
Wolf Track.
Oh.
Yeah, I like it. It's
You like riding in that winter time?
I do. Some of the funnest times is just riding fresh snow, just riding down the trail.
It's so much work.
It's not. It's not. I don't have.
If it's plus like 6 inches of snow, you're just pushing through that, and it's
yeah,
so
but you know
much
what?
work.
Going back to air pressure,
It's true.
flattening out, it's just like snowshoes.
And using a digital tire pressure gauge.
Wait, that's exactly what happened to me. I didn't know what I was doing. The first time I took a fat bike out, I had those tires pumped up to like 20 PSI. I was sliding all over the place. Then I got to realize I got to bleed some air out.
And you just keep going, and you just keep going. Then you're like, oh, I can like, if I put pressure down, like I can touch the rim to the ground, but like it's snow. Yeah, it's such a like stark reminder because a lot of us who ride road all the time are used to that. Every time you look at the pump, if you go to the point of like having that spin dial where it's like, this is the arrow that you get to, but just got to pump to 100. And then now it's like 4. In the fat bike world, because none of us had that experience of just like, oh, tire pressure, I can just go as low as I want.
Yeah.
See, and where I come from, the first time I went fat biking was in northern Wisconsin.
Gani.
I had a Salsa Bear Grease in front of me, and this thing was all of the colors that you would want a bike to be. It's
that the
bright
full
red. It's
suspension one?
No, that was the Bucksaw.
Oh, Buck.
It was like blue and yellow and red and super bright.
loud.
And it was so loud. And of course, I'm pumping that tire pressure all the way up. And I put on my, my down jacket and I'm riding through the trail and everything like that. And I'm suddenly realizing, you know what? 20, 30 PSI is not where you want to be. Well, on top of it, it's on a single track trail. So as I'm trying to turn, like there's just nothing working. Everything is sliding in every which way.
All right, wait, I want to go back to Merc for a minute. Now, Merc, I know you did a lot of research on this. What is the history of the fat bike?
All right, so the history of the fat bike actually goes to Alaska. It does actually start in snow.
Wait, Alaska?
Alaska. You know, up there.
Alaska what?
Within view
Alaska-
of Putin?
Alaska,
What are
Colorado.
you gonna ask him?
Alaska, the state of Alaska.
Oh, okay.
Crazy guys, I guess, would be the best way to say. Wanted to ride the Iditarod dog sled
Oh, that's
race
amazing.
On a bicycle?
on a bicycle.
Uh-huh.
That's a dog race.
It's a dog
That's
race.
like your classic Lantern Rouge non-bike race.
yeah. Well,
That's a really big one there. Yeah.
Easy way not to worry about
So-
points when there are no points to lose or win.
What these guys were trying to do, they were trying to get over the snow. Instead of making wider, less inflated tires, they were slapping wheels together.
Wait, what?
They were, yeah.
Yeah, like 2 rims.
Oh.
So they're still mountain bike rims, but back it was 26 inch, and then they were getting the widest tires that they can get, which is I think back then about a 2.3.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and they're
Small by today's standards.
small by today's standards, yeah. So they were slapping them together. Some guys even got into triple rims.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
Yeah,
were
'cause-
they were custom building forks and frames. As this progressed, people were starting to see it. The first time I saw it was in Bicycling Magazine, and I believe they were calling them monster bikes at the time. It started coming down to the drier climates, and people were starting to use it on sand. So QBP looked and said, "We can do this better, but we don't have a frame."
Yep.
So they actually reached out to Surly. Pugsley, I believe, was the first
yeah.
one.
I feel like
And
it'd be
so-
the Pugsley.
Bob, who
This
got
one
me
got
into
well-known.
cycling, has number 50.
Really?
Pug's number 50.
Wow.
So the
and it's one
serial
of those where
number-
he's just like, it's dumb. I'm never going to ride it again because new fat bikes are way better. But I'm never going to sell it because I have number 50.
That's actually
'Cause
really cool.
Fat bikes and fat bike culture. It's just, it's dumb. But it's so much
But it's
fun
so
and I
much
don't
fun.
care.
Well, then let's break this down. What can we say about fat tire wheel and tire sizes?
So, and it's actually in 2019, 2020 model bikes, it actually changed. So, fat bikes as a designation started at 4-inch wide. And that's the most. So, 4-inch, which is 3.8, because bikes, there's no logic behind this. It just is. So, you say 4-inch because it's 3.8 and you round up. And so that's the 26-inch wheel by 4 inches. That's your standard. Was the standard for a long time for fat bike. Now with the advent of Plus and 27.5 really, really growing as a wheel size, this year is the first year you're seeing 27.5 by 3.8, so 27.5 by 4 really being the most common new model fat bike. And so I actually haven't ridden one of those yet, and it's rare I get to say that where it's like, oh man, there's this new wheel size. I haven't tried it. 'Cause
What's
there's
the
not too many.
diameter on that with a...
What's the
Nerds.
rollout?
Yeah.
The rollout's huge. Yeah, this is maths. So that's really what's coming. So you got 4-inch and 5-inch bikes, 26, 4 and 5. And I haven't seen any 27.5 by 5.
Ooh.
I don't know. It's almost where every year, every time they come out with a new large wheel size, we'll go, oh, it's too large. And then like 3 years later, we're like, oh yeah, it totally needs to be around. We need it. All right, so everyone's first like fat bike experience actually starts the first time they see a fat bike. That's your first like, what is that? The tires are too big. You're just dumbfounded by what you see the first time you see one. Then you like walk up. How heavy is it? Those tires are big. It's got to be. And you go through this whole just like, I didn't know this existed, but it's everything that I want in the world now. And then you go ride it, and you just get that grin. Is that you can't see me. This is radio, but
Yeah.
is that grin? And everyone here that knows that grin. Because you just get on the fat bike because it's just fun.
I remember the first time I saw a fat bike, and all I could think is, were these like some discount tires that like Pirelli, Goodyear, or Bridgestone was making, and they just didn't have a place to put them? No one was buying them for the motorcycles and ended up on a bicycle. I was like, who would want to ride this? Where would you even ride something like this? And then I finally actually, sat down on one, and I was like,
It's fun. It's loud.
it's like a monster truck.
For me, it was the same thing. It was just like, what is that thing? Poke at it.
pick it up and you drop it and you
yeah,
boom, 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 boom.
it jiggles like Jell-O. It's fantastic. And I'm like, no. I'm a road guy. I'm not going to do that. No. Then I got on it, and it was exactly like everyone says. Like, this is so much fun.
It's like the opening to 2001: The Space Odyssey, where all the monkeys are in front of the big black slate. You're
as it comes to
staring at this,
crescendo.
going, "What is this?" Suddenly, spokes are in the air. You're throwing bottles, and bibs are flying in the air,
And you're riding a wheelie in the snow because it's awesome.
Because it's fantastic.
Exactly. That's exactly what everyone's first experience is with a fat bike.
If only we could all speak with Greg's fervor,
Yeah. No.
because all of us have. We all get that.
Yeah.
We understand where he's at, and it's just that like, oh man, these things are just they don't make any sense.
But
they're just
he
fun.
made a good comment that I don't think people are going to hear. They are like tanks.
Yeah.
I would take my fat bike with my friends who are really accomplished mountain bikers, and they sit there, they pick their line. I'm like,
Yeah.
nope, just going straight. Just right up the road.
Crash through.
Yeah, just crash through.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same thing with the snow. You just crash through, you fall. Well, it doesn't hurt. Matter of fact, riding with a friend and watched that friend fall. I'm like, wait, that was hilarious. I have to get the photo before I help you out of the snow.
You stay there.
Yeah.
So you're in the snow. I,
I
know
got
you're
it.
okay. Yeah.
Just
I mean,
hold your breath. It's okay that the rest of your body's outside
Exactly.
of the snow. It'll be
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah, riding switchbacks down a mountain, and you are too much of a roadie, so you lean in too much to the center of the bike as opposed to the back, so you overload that front wheel, and it digs in and then turns and ejects you from the bike, and you are doing switchbacks on a mountain, so you find yourself 15 feet below the trail in a giant snow pile, and you have to crawl your way up. Yeah, it's just once you're like, oh, I know exactly what I did there. That was not smart.
Well,
But it's okay. I'm on a fat bike.
Yeah, you're on a fat bike. It was fun. Yeah, well, even in dry conditions, you got to remember that the fat bike tires are wider. So if you are riding through switchbacks and berms, they do track a little bit
Yeah,
differently.
they do. It's a lot more shallow.
Yeah, a
because it's
little
not
bit.
as-
I have flown off a berm.
Yeah.
Hit a tree. All my friends stopped. Like, are you okay? I'm like,
Like, it's okay, I'm
that
on a
was
fat
fun.
bike. It's okay. I'm on a fat bike.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm invincible, apparently.
So it truly is kind of a
Very
bike
unique.
design individual of itself. This isn't a fad. It is unique construction.
It's like as it came around, it's a new culture. It's a culture that saw themselves and wanted to do that, and then
I think the biggest thing is what you're going with is it's not a fad. It's
Yeah.
been around since the mid 90s. I think the culture that's coming around it is the same thing as the gravel culture.
very
Is that
similar.
now they're starting to become a culture around fat bikes. There's a lot of fat bike races now.
There's Fat Bike Fest.
Yeah, Fat Bike
so mu-
Fest.
and there's people that
Frostbite
do
500.
There's people that have done like this is my favorite, like the best representation of fat bike and fat bike culture is the juxtaposition which fat bikes can exist. So you have they were built for snow. You've had someone do an Ironman triathlon bike portion on a fat bike.
Yeah.
I struggle to find
Because
a
they
more
wanted to have a really long
I struggle
day.
to want to find a more polar opposite of like this was built with that no one had ever thought about that when building this bike. And
No,
then-
the only one that would be even stranger is someone did the Perry Dakar on a fat bike.
I don't know what the Perry Dakar is.
No, I think a Perry
Perry
Dakar
Dakar?
would be okay on a fat bike. It would be a long, long
It'd be
time.
a long race.
It's-
Wait, Dakar? Like
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, ew.
I think that would be actually
no.
a
Good.
good.
Like, fat bike makes sense there. 'Cause,
Yeah.
yeah. When you get into the desert,
yeah.
that's going to be one of the better bikes. So
Yeah,
like
it would.
PvP, not pastry breast pastry as we
No.
do in Illinois here. Thank you, Pedal and Spoke. But PvP as
Yeah.
in
As in
Perry breast Prix.
Perry breast
Par-
Prix.
Paris breast Perry.
Yeah,
Did you have to
exactly.
get fancy
you
at
gotta
the
get
end there?
fancy with it.
Perry breast Prix.
And like Ironman is one of those like it's an individual time trial over 112 miles that you have
Wow.
to run after. So you want that to be easy, right? Because that's not easy.
You
No.
would think so.
You'd think. So yeah, going with the fat bike, it's just complete opposite.
I mean, I have one of my guys I ride with. He likes riding his fat bike, and he doesn't want to find a pair of slicks
Why?
so he can ride on the road. And I just like,
I
okay,
mean, yeah.
sure, we can.
they make them.
They do make them.
And I think that's really what makes fat biking interesting is the fact that at the end of the day, people want to ride these bikes, not for necessarily their intended purpose, but because of the challenge they create
Yeah.
and also the opportunity of exploration that they could also offer to up to everybody.
Just fun.
And I mean,
They are a lot of
his
fun.
his thought is it's like swinging a heavy bat.
Yeah.
It's making him faster
yeah.
when he gets
Your
on.
buddy, yeah.
when he gets on the road.
But then if he never gets off of the fat bike, it's always just him swinging a
just
heavy
always
bat.
just-
He's just the heavy bat guy.
He's just that guy.
So yeah, so you never
he
have
used to run to people's houses. Like,
He's still
we
just
all know
enjoying
that guy.
He's still just enjoying himself.
He's enjoying. Yes, that's as we've said before. That's the fat bike. That was
just
fun.
the giggle and grin.
So closing thoughts, TC.
I mean, they're just fun. We've done it. We've just If you haven't tried one, go try one.
Yeah, absolutely.
As someone who owns a bike shop and has fat bikes, come try one.
No,
Mark?
absolutely. There's just so much stinking fun. You can do everything on it. You can ride in the snow, ride on the sand. You can ride single track.
You could ride road.
You can ride road. It just puts a grin on your face. And as TC said, and I hate to say it again, everyone needs to grin every once in a while.
No, and I will totally agree. I think fat bikes are completely insane, but it's kind of the insanity you need occasionally to break up the monotony. They are a lot of fun. Go out and just do some stupid stuff on one.
Yeah.
You're going to be grinning from ear to ear, as both of you have said. Jeremy?
It's the bike I spend 8 months a year wondering why I own and 4 months having the time of my life. But in my bike arsenal, it is the bike that I've lent out the most. Oh, my friends! That has been another episode of the Crank Revolution podcast. First thing we'd like to say is thank you. Thanks for being our listeners and sharing the show with your friends. Leave us a rating or a review wherever you get your podcasts. We love the feedback. You can reach out to us by email at crankrevolutioncycling@gmail.com and find us on Facebook at Crank Revolution.